Howdy, everybody. It's your boy TK from Lot Media. Super excited to talk about today's comic. We're going to be talking about Zatanna, the 2026 Next Level uh, run that's going on right now. uh, Currently, this is, as you can see herself, this is Zatanna, mage extraordinaire and, the mistress of the show. This is a small 6 issue run where I think from time to time they just, whenever any of the artists can take breaks where they can work on like smaller projects, next level is those type of this type of projects. And I'm really happy whenever Zatanna can get attention. She's currently a new MVP in my life when it comes to characters. I absolutely love it whenever she gets time to shine. It is kind of funny because when I was in the comic book store, I randomly found this and I was like, oh, wait, I already have a Zatanna #1. And I looked it up, and apparently she had a year prior, she had her 2025 run. And from, I think, what I can tell, these are each different segments that are ongoing. I think that one might have been like the volume 3 kind of setup where it was like a previous iteration. Where you have this one, which is like, run number 4, which is like a bit of a continuation. I'm still learning all this comic book nonsense. I'm just here to tell you if the comic's good or not and whether I should recommend it to you. And yeah, Zatanna, I think she is a wonderful character. If you love strong female characters, you can't do any better than this. Obviously made by DC, 6 issues, and it's still pretty easy to pick up these comics. So you shouldn't have a problem finding them / having them. They should be decently priced. So yeah, in this, the premise of it is Zatanna is the new Prime Magus. So she's kind of like Marvel's version of like the Sorcerer Supreme. She controls, or she has a responsibility of maintaining and protecting all magic in every iteration of it. And so as the Prime Magus, that's kind of like her new responsibility when it comes to her character. And yeah, so, now she has this cosmic responsibility of having to handle, maintain all of it. She also has to deal with a murderous plague spirit, while dealing with the Department of the Occult Affairs, who keep pressuring her to do more and more and more, and, kind of getting in her way to just let her do her job, because Zatanna, she's a show woman, at her very base. Always done it. Her father did it, and she can't help but to show off, and that's what makes me love her so much, because she isn't afraid to show off because she can prove it. And I think that's just such a fun character trait of hers. It's just, she's going to put on a good show, thus as a reader you're going to enjoy it. The only issue I can point out to you guys to just be wary of is how her magic works. From all the iterations I've been reading and / understand, whenever she uses her magic, she speaks backwards. So you're gonna have to get used to kind of translating and stopping, reading what she said. And I know that can kind of mess with the flow of the comic sometimes, but she normally sprinkles in a bunch of funny moments of just shut the fuck up almost, but backwards magic. So I just want to let you guys know about that. I do really enjoy her. I think she's very fun, but just know that for some of you that can take you out of it, and that's something that's understandable. That's just how her magic works. And yeah, so just talking about Zatanna, she has her. So with her in this new role, she's kind of going on a giant tour of, city to city, dealing with all these magical problems while maintaining her show. And it's just such a fun ride to go along with it. A lot of episodic transitions, as she's just fulfilling her duties, riding around, and, kind of this, like I said, she just is a character known to just have responsibilities thrown on her. Started with her dad, who kind of expected her to be a mage. You're a magician just like him, but obviously she stepped up because she has those more magical moments. And yeah, want to go over some of the themes for this series. Obviously, responsibility, always a big one that is involved with Zatanna. She's normally having to control stuff, deal with stuff, anything related to magic. She is kind of the problem solver for DC when it comes down to it, and pretty much if there is a problem, she's the one that has to show up. If not, it's John Constantine. That's why, depending on the situation, if it's world ending, you send in John who can get it done. In the most like gritty way possible, or you have Zatanna who, with the right magic can figure out the situation. Yeah, some of the other stuff is one thing I really like about Zatanna is her comics are always flamboyant. There's that flair, that theatrics, because that's who she is at the base of her character. She wants to put on a show, she wants to put on a performance, and I am always ready for the next magic trick and figure out how it plays out. And I'm never disappointed. Every scene is just another, magical, showing. Yeah, sorry, it's kind of hard to put in the words, but I'm never disappointed whenever it comes to her dealing with the situation she's involved in. The magic is so much fun, and there's so much whimsy, and that's what I really like about this magic. Is she's having fun with it. Obviously, the villains are trying their best to stop her, and a lot of the times when they do try to stop her, they normally stop her from speaking because she's a vocal based magic user. So they stop her from speaking, she can't use her magic. Thus, that's how they deal with her a lot of the times. I'm expecting them to do that to her at some point. That's just a given based on who she is. They've kind of done that in the Absolute series. Wink wink, Zatanna's also in the Absolute comics. Which I think you guys would also enjoy that version of her. Maybe one day I'll talk about her in that universe, but for now we're focusing on just, the next levels Zatanna. Yeah, so we had this performance of, reality versus, unreality, the magical world versus the real world, having to deal with all these concepts and issues. And I think it's a pretty fun theme. Like, she has to, balance between, the mortals versus the not mortals. And you can't go wrong with that. Very good setup, very solid. And for the art, obviously with the cover alone, Zatanna is a very upfront character. There's so many colors, explosions of just whimsy that just makes you just fall in love with everything that occurs with the character. And I think, just the best way to go about it is just like showing you just the initial front of the cover. Like, look at all of those, like, almost oh God, I can't remember the Art Deco style where you just have these gigantic rising like high rises, the casino neon light kind of vibes. Zatanna's not afraid to show off and like the color palettes, because I think she has a real good like pink, purple, yellow vibe that goes with her, and it's just super solid. And I think it's just a fun time. I think it's just a fun comic to collect. Even if you're not like invested into the story, sometimes you just collect stuff as a hobby just because it looks good. Like, I have a buddy of mine who, if it says Zatanna, he picks it up. That's like me with magic. If he sees it, he picks it up. And hopefully for some of you guys, maybe you have comics just like that. And I'd recommend it. Like, it's okay to have a comic which, even if it's not good, you just enjoy it because it's your comfort character. And, Zatanna, she's starting to become that for me. I think if I see Zatanna, I'm gonna pick it up. And hopefully, you may join me along the way and pick this up yourself. And yeah, just all the eye-catching and the pizzazz when it comes to the art and everything. Like, it's so hard to go wrong with anything in this comic. And I would love to show you more of it, but I think the less you know, the more, the more fun you'll have. So, yeah, you'll just have to go pick up this comic yourself. I don't want to spoil too much for you. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you for joining me along this journey. I have so much fun talking about these comics. I don't care about views, I don't care about likes and dislikes. The only thing I care about is just having a fun time with you guys and leaving something for my children one day to where that they can still enjoy, listen to dear old dad talk about comics. But I better stop yapping and let you get on with your day. Thank you guys again for joining me. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye.